Hi everyone, it's Fiona from Lavender Blue. How are you all? I've just come on today to show you an experiment. I've been messing around with trying to make my own sort of a vellum or see-through transparent paper. So it's a little bit like vellum, but it's not. And I've seen, quite a few different ways of doing it on YouTube, and I wanted to test out a couple of ways to see how they work. So these ones I did last night. I was messing around with the oil method where I've just used simple baby oil and just got a cotton ball and just rubbed it onto the part of the paper. So if I can get my camera at the right angle or my piece of paper, I think you can see the difference here where from here to here I've rubbed it with the baby oil, and then that's just a normal paper there. So if you see my hands under that one and then under that one, you can't see it as well. See there? So the baby oil does work. It's made it nice and translucent there. But the thing I'm finding with the oil is even though I've left it overnight, it still feels oily. Not really oily. I mean, I guess the trick is to not use too much, but it still is slightly oily, and I think I'd be worried about it actually sticking with the glue or tape or anything like that. You probably have to sew with it, but it definitely does work and turn it more translucent. Hopefully I can move my light without wrecking everything here. Oh, there you go. So you can see the difference. You can see how it has made it translucent. Okay, so that's on just ripped out of a book. It's out of a book. It's a book page. Now this one here is from it's not a printed paper, it's a purchased paper, just ordinary paper, but it had this pattern on it, and I've done this area here. And you can see it's also worked on this one. This one I tried with a darker piece just to see how that would go. So this is this is a printed paper. This is one of my printed papers, and yes, it's worked on that one as well. You see the difference there. So there's now no doubt that it makes your papers translucent. This is another printed one. These are one of my black and white collage sheets that I've just printed on normal copy paper. And there you go, you can see the difference there as well. So it definitely does work. It does make it translucent. But as I said, I'm just not sure if it doesn't make it crinkly, and I really like the crinkly sound. But it works if you just want to make your papers a bit more translucent. Now, the other thing though that I discovered was when I was doing it on my my baking paper sheet. I think this is baking paper or greaseproof paper, one of them where you've got the shiny side on one side. And look at how well it did with this one. So there's where I got the oil, and there's the normal baking paper. So you can make your baking paper very translucent using just oil, baby oil, and it does still feel oily though, and that's leaving it overnight. So that's the baby oil, and I have heard you can use other oils, like I don't know, maybe olive oil, or just you can experiment with different oils. And if you do, let me know how you go, because I've only tried the baby oil. So the next one that I want to try is with wax. And I know with the wax you can also make the glassine type paper. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to do this, what you'll need is 2 sheets of baking paper. You'll need your piece of paper that you're going to wax, and you'll need an iron. So I'll just go ahead and get all those things, and I'll be back to show you. Okay, so I've got my baking paper here, and I've got the piece of paper that I'm going to wax on. I've cut off the other parts that I used the baby oil on, and I'm just going to do the other bits left over with the wax. So this is the book page. So with the wax, now you can use beeswax. Beeswax will give you a bit of a vintage tinge because of the colour to it, or you can use a plain white candle wax. But what I had is the encaustic wax, which is it's like an artistic wax that you can use to do wax encaustic paintings. So I'm pretty sure this will work as well because, well, it's just another wax. So this is what I have. So this is what I'm going to use. Now you just want to put little shavings of your wax. And you could shave it all up and put it into a little container before you start. That would probably be easier, but I'm just going to cut off some little pieces to start off with. And you don't want too much because you're better to start off with not enough and then add to it rather than adding too much in the beginning, because otherwise your paper will come out way too wet. So let's start with that little bit and see how we go. Sort of spreading it out as evenly-ish as I can. And you need your iron to be on a low setting with no steam. So no steam on the iron. So we're going to put another piece of paper over the top, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to start ironing. You can see the wax melting there. And just keep going over until I think I've got that all melted. And you can see that I haven't added enough, but that's okay. I can just keep adding to that. And I can already see that that is working. Put on some more wax. Okay, so I think that'll do for that one. You can see I didn't put quite enough wax. I was being really careful because I didn't want to overdo it. So it's just a couple of bits on the edges that I missed. But what I'm going to do is let that dry so that we can look at the result when it has completely dried. So we'll just try another one. I think I'm going to use the This was my printable one. Actually, that is the baby oil one. So now I'm going to do the rest of it with the wax. So I'll just go ahead and I'll try and use a bit more wax this time. Then I'm going to let that one dry as well. So this time I'm going to be experimenting with paper napkins. So I'm going to go ahead and get some napkins, and I'm also going to get some old sewing paper, you know, the really thin old sewing paper, and possibly some tissue paper. And I'm going to try a couple of methods for the glassine, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I have some napkins that I want to try. So I'm going to take the backing off because we only do one layer. And a good trick that I've seen is to use some sticky tape, stick it on, and then just pull it, and it should help you to take your backing off. There we go. So that started that corner for me. And usually they are 2 or 3 ply. Looks like this one's just 2. Now I wanted to try the decorated side, but I also want to try just the white one to see how that comes out as well for a clear one. And I think this is going to be a bit like vellum, more like vellum than the the other one I was going to try. I think this, unless, I don't think it'll come out very, well, I'm not sure. I need to try it. I don't think I've seen anyone do it with the encaustic wax. I've seen them use other waxes, so see what happens. But that's the white one, the plain one. I don't think I want to do the whole napkin, so I might rip that in half if I can. Should really be using a paintbrush with just water. That helps you to tear it where you want it, but that's okay. So I'll just put this bit aside. So let's try this out. Now this time I have shaved I've pre-shaved my little bits of wax. And the other thing I was trying to think of was glassine. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I think it could come out like glassine, but I think it'll be more like a vellum. It won't be so crisp. But as I said, there's another method that I want to try. So let's see. I don't know whether this is too much wax because, and obviously being a napkin, it's a bit different to paper, so it's going to soak up the oil a lot more. So the wax, I'm not sure if I'm using too much, to be honest. I hope not. don't add quite so much and just add it if I need it. So let's go ahead and see what happens with this one. Back on. Yeah, that's melting really well and soaking in really well too. And I'm not really pressing. I don't really need to press. It's just the weight of the iron is just melting the wax. And you can see that that napkin just soaks it up really quickly, a lot quicker than the paper. So, I'm just wondering if I should tear that off. I don't want to rip it. That's fine. What I might do is leave it stuck to this piece while it's drying. I'll put that one over there and I'll grab another piece of baking paper. And we will do the clear one, the white one, and see what happens with that one. Okay, so not very good ripping, but it's okay. Sprinkle it on. And where's my other piece? There it is. Let's try this one. This one's taking a bit longer to melt. I don't know whether that's because the bits of wax are a bit thicker or not. Or whether I'm not holding down the iron for long enough, but it's working. I think you need to make sure you get it near the edges as well, because I can see where I haven't got it here and this edge. I can see where it's not. I haven't got any wax, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm just sort of experimenting. But you get the idea that you'll need to spread it out nice and evenly. This bit here, because you can see, I don't know if you can see in the camera, where it's patchy. Yeah, you can see it now. Hold it up. This bit here, these edges don't have any wax on them, so you just need to keep an eye on that. But I am going to just let this one dry on there as well. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, while I've got the wax out, I want to do this onto some tracing paper or old sewing paper. So I'll just go and get some of that. Okay, so I'm just going to try on a small piece. The piece is got holes in it. Doesn't matter. Might be interesting. Just cut off a little piece like this. So the sewing patterns are the same as any other tissue paper. So we'll try that with the wax. And after the wax, I will be trying a couple of other methods that I've seen. So, but while I've got the wax out, I want to do it on this one as well. Let's see. And I think this will be quite nice, to be honest. And some people might be saying, oh, why is she doing that? Why are you doing that even? Well, I think when you're a creative person or you love paper, you're a paper crafter, you just love making things and you love the whole process of it, and at the end of it you love the feel of the paper, the sound of the paper, you love creating things with it, and so that's why we do weird stuff like this. I mean, even if I could buy it, I think it wouldn't matter because anyway, I just like the whole process of making things, so that's what I do. So, okay, so I've got the wax there. The iron may not be warm enough, but I didn't want it too hot. I think it's about right. I think as long as you've got it under your steam setting, don't have it on any of the steam settings. And I don't think I've got enough wax here, so I'll put some more on. I can see in the area, the lighter areas where there's no wax. Let's see. Yeah, it's not all covered. I need more wax. And there. See where it's not shiny. All through there. I hope I've got enough. Dump it all on there. This edge here as well. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay, that's better. And we will let that one dry. Okay, so for my next method, I'm going to be using some PVA glue and a water mixture. So this is another method that I've seen, and I think this one works out really well actually. I'm not sure about on normal printer paper. This is more for the more transparent or translucent papers, so that you can get a kind of a glassine paper or rice paper effect. Glassine is sort of like, it's kind of like this. This is a cereal box liner. And it's kind of similar to this sort of plastic, a real sort of a glassine, but maybe a bit thinner. So, yeah, as I said, this is cereal box liner, so I'm using this as my backing. You just need something that is non-stick, like this. But you can also use a plastic bag. But I would cut it open and I would use the inside of it. I wouldn't use anything the side that's printed on, just in case it transfers onto your project. So you can use one of those as well. So what I'm going to experiment with is I'm going to do it on a napkin, like a patterned napkin. And then I'm going to do it on also a napkin, but just the white bit, the base. And you can also do this on tracing paper. So this is just a plain bit of cheap tracing paper, nothing special. I'll show you the paper pad. So mine is just tracing paper pad. It's A4 65 GSM is the paper weight. So I don't know whether that's thickish or thinnish, but yeah, it's a fairly thin tracing paper. It's almost like vellum actually. And obviously you can also do this on a tissue paper. Actually, I was going to try a little bit of tissue paper too with the... So I'm just going to cut... I'm just cutting samples off. I'm not doing big pieces because I'm just sort of testing it out. So this here is basically the same as your, you know, your tissue paper, your wrapping paper as well. So we'll do that one. But I have to be able to let it dry on the backing, so I don't know if these will all fit. I may have to get the plastic bag out, but we'll see how we go with these. So I think I'll start with my napkin, which I'm going to put in the corner here. Okay, so I have my PVA glue, and first I have to make up the mixture. So your basic mixture is 2 parts PVA glue, just normal white school glue, and 1 part water. So two thirds glue and 1/3 water. But I'm not going to be using water. I'm going to be using a coffee mixture. And that's only because I like the vintage look that it gives. So if you don't want the vintagey look, just use plain water. So I'm going to pour this in. Hopefully I can pour it without spilling it. And from what I can see, that's about 2/3 to 1/3. Yeah, so I probably don't need all that. And then you just put the lid on and mix it around. Or you can use a spoon or a brush or something as well. So I'm just giving it a bit of a shake. And I'll give it a bit of a mix as well. I think I've got plenty of coffee in that, because I don't want it too runny and I don't want it too thick. I think that's about right. So mine looks like this. You can see, hang on, just let me move my light. It's not quite in a good position. So you can see there what it looks like. So mine's going to have that vintage tinge to it, as I said. So I'll just move my coffee so I don't bump it. needs a bit more of a mix because some of the glue isn't mixed in at the bottom there. But if you've got a jar with a secure lid, you'll be able to just give it a good shake. Now I saw Natasha from Treasure Books. She's Treasure Books on YouTube. She's got heaps of lovely ideas, and I saw her doing this. So with the napkin, what she did was she painted it on here first. Or not painted, but applied it onto the backing first, and that's because with napkin it'll just go straight through to the other side anyway, so it's just easier. You won't be able to, once you've wet it, you won't be able to lift it up and turn it over, so because it's too delicate, you need to wait for it to dry. So I'm going to just start painting on here first to, you know, roughly the size of the napkin. I think, yep, that should be plenty. So then I'm just going to lay it down, and this is just a single layer. Lay it down. I don't mind crinkles, I actually like crinkles. So just a little bit more under the bottom here, I can see. And then just start painting it on. You want enough so that it's wet, so that you can drag your brush across. But you don't want it oversaturated. Try not to let your brush get dry, because when it gets dry, you could start ripping the napkin. So when it's dry, you know that you need a bit more on your brush. So the only thing with this method, I guess, is the drying time. I don't know how long it's going to take to dry, but from what I can see, it's going to have a gorgeous finish at the end, so it's worth it. It's worth doing this if you want some nice glassine or a rice paper look, like a faux rice paper. So that's the napkin there. Now I want to try this one. So I think I'll do the same. I'll paint a bit on there first. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pick it up and turn it over. I don't think I will, so do it this way. Here we go. Paint this side. So I have one more method after this method. I'll show you. So that's that one. Now let's do the tissue paper. I want to be able to fit this on here somehow. Didn't really want to rip it, but maybe I'll have to. Just the side here. If I can get away with it, I want to fit it all on this backing, but so let's do the same with the tissue paper, I mean the tracing paper, sorry. If you don't want to use coffee, you can also use a bit of acrylic paint to colour it, if you don't like the coffee idea. Or you could use tea. I would say with the acrylic paint, something like a burnt umber might be a good colour, just a little bit, to get a similar shade. So that's just smoothing this out to make sure that I have covered the other side. And I know another thing you can do, which Natasha did, was with her tracing paper, she crinkled it all up first and then undid it again. And that's probably what I should have done, because I like that as well. But this is going crinkly anyway, which I like. So I'm going to get into all those little crevices. It's actually quite fun doing this. So I'll saturate that. Let's see what we get. So the last one was the clear napkin. So I'm just going to put a piece of it there like that. Doesn't matter if it's hanging over the edge. That easily tears off when you're done. So obviously this won't be white anymore. It's going to have a nice vintagey look to it because of the coffee. I'm thinking while I've got this mixture here, I should do a few more, but I'll do them off camera. So that's that PVA glue method, but we need to wait for this to dry. Now you can also do this with Mod Podge, because it's very similar material as white PVA glue. So PVA glue or Mod Podge mixed with a bit of water. So I'll let this dry and I'm going to come back and show you another method. Okay, so I'm back with my next method. So this time I've got a plastic bag as my backing. This is the inside of the plastic bag. And I have got some tracing paper, which I have stamped on, because I didn't want it to be plain. I thought I wanted something on there because I could turn it into a little pocket or plastic bag or something afterwards. So that's the tracing paper. So is this little piece here. Now this is the tissue paper, the sewing or tissue paper. And this is a napkin. It's just a plain napkin. I might just rip that and use a smaller piece. And I thought, I mean, I don't know if this is going to work, but I thought I would also try this method on a book page, because I don't know. And this book here, it is just an old book, but it happens to have some pages in the back that have notes written at the top. So I might just thought if I could, I might rip a page out of this and just see what happens on ordinary sort of book page. And do I want a coloured napkin? And you could also do this on baking paper, which I might get some afterwards and do that as well. So what it is it's using a varnish, a gloss varnish, and this one is a spray gloss varnish, just for acrylic paintings, oil or acrylic paintings. You just spray it over the top. So it's I think it is an acrylic based. I'm not sure if it's acrylic based or oil based, but it's basically just a varnish. So you could probably even use some sort of varnish that you paint on, but this is a spray varnish. And obviously do this in a well ventilated area and make sure you're wearing a mask. And all I'm going to do is spray them on both sides. So go spray one side. Just how I would spray across my paintings. And it's going to seal that. You can see that book page went very translucent then. But I have to spray the back, so I think I can do this. You may not have to spray the back, particularly with these thin papers here. But I think, yeah, with your tracing paper you would need to. Maybe not with the napkins. Did I turn that over? Okay. So I'm going to let that dry, and I will also do a piece of baking paper or parchment paper just to show you how that turns out as well. So I'll be back and we will have a look at all the results when everything's dry. Okay, so here we are and everything's dry. So now I'm going to show you the final result of all the different methods. So I used 4 methods. I've only got 3 here, but I did the baby oil on these papers. I did the wax, where we melted the wax. I did PBA glue mixed with water or coffee. And the final one I did was the spray varnish. I used the varnish on there. So let's just have a look. So this was the baby oil. And I'm actually going to use a book page for you to see if it's how transparent or translucent the paper is. So the first one with the baby oil, this was just an old book page. So if I show you like this, you can see that you can actually see the words through this. So it has become a translucent page, a bit more like a vellum. So that's the book page. And then I did just a printed piece of paper. It's actually purchased paper, just a thin paper. And this one, I'm not sure what kind of paper it is. It might be a bit thicker than normal printer paper because it's a purchased paper, but so it's slightly translucent. You can see these words through there, but not a really great result on that one. And this is it's a printed paper that I printed onto normal copy paper. It was printable, and I thought I'd try a dark one to see how it turned out. So compared to the original, it is still translucent. It's quite translucent. So with printables, anything that you print onto normal copy paper, it will work. And if I'd have done a lighter design, you would be able to see that a little bit better, but it has become a little bit translucent there. You can see those words through there. So the baby oil does work, and this is a printable that I printed. It's one of my collage sheets. If it wasn't so busy on there, you could probably see it better, but that one also became quite translucent. So that does work to make kind of a vellum paper. But I would say don't use too much oil because otherwise it will have a bit of an oily feel. Mine doesn't, so it's okay. But if you use too much oil, it will, and maybe soak some of it up with a paper towel when you're doing it. So that's the baby oil. Now this one was the wax. So this feels completely different. Obviously, it has a very waxy feel, and it's kind of, I don't know, you can hear it. It's kind of crispier. It's very soft. This is the plain paper napkin. It's very soft. So that's quite nice, but it does have a waxy feel to it. And this is the book page. So you can see where I didn't get the wax, and then you can see where I did, how translucent that one is. So that's the wax on the book page, and here's the wax on the tissue paper. It made the tissue paper a bit more kind of, it feels as if it's kind of strengthened it more, and it's made it a bit shiny. Well, you can see through it anyway, but yeah, you can see there. And now this is the napkin that I did with the wax, and it's also waxy and kind of, yeah, different to before. It's like, how can I explain it? It's got more substance to it. Maybe feels a bit stronger and a bit more crunchy. So that's the wax on there, and this is the wax on the printable, and that made it a lot more translucent, sort of shiny. But the wax is a bit more sticky than, say, the oil, and I think it's made it a little bit more translucent than the oil. But I may have to wait for that to dry a bit more, I'm not sure, but you can try that one out. The third one I did was the PVA glue. And this one, I'll show you, this is the napkin. And I actually really, really love the result of this one. It's become shiny on the back. So that's where I had it stuck to I was using the liner of a cereal box, which is shiny, and so it's become shiny on the back. But PVA glue has just made it sort of translucent and crunchy, and it feels like a rice paper more than a napkin. It's a lot stronger too. So I really like the result on the napkin. Whoops, and this one can't have been quite dry because it's stuck together. Never mind. This was the white napkin. So that's the original white napkin there. And this is it after the PVA glue mixture with the coffee. It's shiny there. Nice and crinkly, and just feels nice. So I actually like the PVA glue one. It does take longer to dry, but it works well. I mean, you can imagine a little pocket or a little bag, a little window or something with a tag in it using this paper. It's really nice. And this is the PVA glue on the tracing paper, and I really love that too. Look at it, how it's crinkled it up. It's all, I really love that one. So that one, I think the tracing paper is very close to being Glassine with the PVA glue. And same with the tissue paper. The tissue paper is actually probably the closest quite thin. So this is old sewing pattern paper, but it's basically the same as your tissue paper. That one's really nice. And now the final method that I used, I'll just move these ones to the side. So when I sprayed on the spray varnish, so I've got, this is a strip of tracing paper, and that has worked really, really well. I think you can see there how shiny that is. Not so shiny on that side. I don't think I did that side. But look how shiny and crisp that is. That is a lot like Glassine as well. This is the spray varnish on the napkin. It hasn't actually made a lot of difference. It's maybe a bit more, feels a bit more durable, but I wouldn't say it's made a lot of difference on the napkin. Now this is the book page, and it did actually make it quite a lot more see-through on the book page. Let me see, let's get, this is the same book, right? This is before having it, and this is afterwards, so it's hard to see on the camera, but this one is a lot more transparent or translucent than the other one. So that's all that's actually done to the paper. Now this is another piece of the tracing paper. And I stamped on it before I did it because I wasn't sure if I could stamp on it afterwards. But look, I just love what it does to the tracing paper. It's shiny now, it's crisp, and it's more like Glassine, like this piece as well. So the spray varnish is good, and it's also really good on the tissue paper. So this is the tissue paper with the spray varnish, so that's really nice. This is the tissue paper with the PVA. It's a little bit more shiny and crisp. So there's a difference, but probably depending on how much varnish you put on as well, because I only did one coat. I don't know whether if you did a couple of coats it would be any much different. The final one, actually it's not the final one, this is baking paper, which is kitchen paper, and I sprayed some of the varnish on this to see what would happen. This part here, where it's more see-through, is where I actually got the baby oil on it. But the rest of it has also become a little bit more transparent and shiny, and that's you spraying it with the spray varnish. So it does work. And here's a piece, also a piece of parchment baking paper. And this is the one that you get, which is the raw baking paper. So that's the colour of it. And it's also come out nice and shiny and crisp. I'm going to do this with it because that's what I like. And I'm going to use them all because I think all the different methods, they kind of serve a different purpose and you get a different result. But that is just to show you some of the methods that I have seen, and I thought that I would try them all out and show them to you and see what you thought, so you can sort of make up your mind whether you want to, which method you'd like to use. And it depends on the result you want to get to, whether you want a kind of a vellum finish or whether you want more of that sort of crunchy finish with the PVA. I personally really like that method. I love the effect that it gives. Although, as I said, it does take longer to dry, but only probably a couple of hours. And I found that I had to, with this one, the tracing paper, I had to turn it over and dry the other side after a while because the side underneath wasn't drying as quickly as the top. So I flipped it over. And that's the napkin. So that's my little experiment for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, please like and subscribe to support my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.